Greetings, mighty warriors. Matthew 19:26 tells us that Jesus looked at them intently and said, "Humanly speaking, it is impossible, but with God, everything is possible." Have you ever wondered what you have to offer to God? Many times over the years, people have come to me wondering what their ministry and their gifts might be. A lot of times through the years, people have taken certain gifts tests and want me to collaborate the findings. I always tell them that I can easily put them to work, that's not a problem, but finding their God-given ministry and their God-given gifts is simpler and at the same time harder than anything that I can provide for them personally. It is harder because the natural human being wants to be told how they can help Jesus and receive recognition for that help. It is simpler than that because the true spiritual path and the way of discovering your gifts of the Spirit are in nothing more and nothing less than humbling yourself and following Jesus. Don't worry so much about your gifts. Rather, follow Jesus and do the things for which you know you are overqualified. No one becomes a great preacher without first having put up some chairs. No one becomes a great missionary without first having washed some potluck dishes. No one becomes a mighty warrior without first humbling oneself, grabbing the angel's hand for help because we need help, and being lifted out of our hiding places and set on our feet upright. The book of Judges recounts the origin story of an Israelite superhero. The hero's name was Gideon, and Gideon did not know what his mission or his gifts were until he submitted to following the Lord's instructions. The story goes like this. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." "Pardon me, my lord," Gideon replied. "But if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, 'Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt?' But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" "Pardon me, my lord," Gideon replied. "But how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." The Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites." To me, this says that if you diligently sweep the winepress floor day after day, that one day, sooner rather than later, God will come and ask you to do something incredible. Something so incredible that your first instinct might be to dig deeper into the ground and hide safely within. In my experience, your gifts, the ones from God, are actually all found in trusting and following Him. The day that God does wish to reveal your gifts to you is the same day that you wonder if you really want any gifts from Him. Because a gift from God is not the same thing as the natural skills for which He designed you at birth to make it through this life, but rather, a gift is something with which you were not born. If you wondered about that, then I would point out that the gifts of the Spirit cannot be realized until the Spirit birth has taken place. It is an equipping for God's design and purposes right here, right now, and for present people. God's gifts to us are not so much in the acrobatics that we can do through dedication and hard work and practice, but rather found in our willingness to allow God to set our paths on impossible roads and use our humble vessels as the conduit through which He performs the impossible and the unfeasible with ease and with grace. All that being said, I have no idea what your skills are, but this I do know. I do know what your gift from God is. Your gift is to follow Him, no matter how impossible, no matter how unlikely, no matter how dangerous the path is, and to humbly trust that if He was truly the one that said go, truly the one that said stand, and truly the one that said conquer, then all you have to do is step where He tells you to step, and know that all rivers and seas will move out of your way so that God's glory is revealed through you. A threshing floor sweeper, a potluck dishwasher, or a computer programmer, or an engineer. God isn't looking for the great and powerful. For the great and powerful are usually too prideful to be weak enough to use. It is the humble and the meek that God will lead to inherit the world. It is the last that He will reverse all lines for so that they might be first. And it is the hungry that will be finally and ultimately filled forever at the great wedding feast. 1 Corinthians 1:27 tells us that God chose the foolish things of this world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. 2 Corinthians 12:10 tells us, for the sake of Christ then, I am content with weakness, insults, hardship, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And Isaiah 40:28-31 declares, have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and never faint. In other words, nothing is impossible with God. Your gift, the gift that leads to the realization of all other gifts, is the gift of faith and trust that God has it all under control and God is still intimately involved in and with the affairs of men. And He invites you to be a major part of that story. Not because you're great, but because He is great. And because He loves you dearly. In the second book of the Chronicles of Narnia, the dwarf Trumpkin has happened upon Aslan's choice of warriors for the coming battle. Needless to say, the good dwarf Trumpkin is a little perplexed by Aslan's choice of avatars. The account, which has seen the arrival of the old kings and queens of Narnia during its darkest hour, goes as follows. Meanwhile, said the dwarf, what are we to do? I suppose I'd better go back to King Caspian and tell him no help has arrived. No help, said Susan. But it has worked, and here we are. Yeah, to be sure, I see that, said the dwarf, whose pipe seemed to be blocked. At any rate, he made himself very busy cleaning it. But, well, I mean, but don't you yet see who we are? Shouted Lucy. You are stupid. I suppose you are the four children out of the old stories, said Trumpkin, and I'm very glad to meet you, of course, and it's very interesting, no doubt, but no offense. And he hesitated again. Do get on and say whatever you're going to say, said Edmund. Well then, no offense, said Trumpkin, but, you know, the king and the truffle hunter and Dr. Cornelius were expecting, well, if you see what I mean, help. To put it in another way, I think they've been imagining you as great warriors. As it is, we're awfully fond of children and all that, but just at the moment, in the middle of a war, But I'm sure you understand. You mean you think we're no good, said Hedman, getting red in the face. Now, pray don't be offended, interrupted the dwarf. I assure you, my dear little friends, little? From you is really a bit too much, said Hedman, jumping up. I suppose you don't believe we won the Battle of Baruna. Well, you can say what you like about me, because I know there's no good losing our tempers, said Peter. Let's fit him out with fresh armor and fit ourselves out for the treasure chamber and have a talk after that. When Jesus has selected you for some small or great thing, you are sure to run into opposition. The devil will tell you that you are not skilled in the area to which Aslan has directed your feet. The evil one will tell you that you do not have the ability, the eloquence, and even worse, you don't have the track record to back any of these gifts up. And from your pastor to you, I'd like to tell you that on this one thing, the devil isn't lying. But he is trying to deceive you all the same. For left unto your own gifts and your own goodness and your own skills, all those things are true. And you best stay down in the hole of the winepress and keep sweeping, because it's all you've got going for you. But the day that you truly believe that, truly believe you have nothing to offer, but also believe that Jesus never asks for what he does not equip, never demands what he has not first accomplished, and never requires what he has not already provided. The day you drop your broom, grab the angel's hand, and step out of your cave of comfort is the first day of living a royal and a gifted life. It is the day that last is gifted with first, and the first become last, and the poor become rich. It is a day when all fear is gone, because it is the day that you realize that Jesus is your gift. Jesus is everything worth having, and Jesus doesn't fail, ever. Let's end by lifting praise to our Father in heaven, who gives us this promise. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. Praise his great name. What is your gift? Jesus is your gift. God bless, and I hope to see you soon.